Welcome to the Menopause Mindset Podcast, the place to get some answers and feel supported along this often bumpy journey. Many people sail through menopause, but many people don't. And so my guests and I are here to motivate you and inspire you so that you can make menopause a happier transition for yourself and for your loved ones. I'm Sally Garozzo and I'm an award-winning rapid transformational therapist, a menopause educator and the founder of the Sleep Superpower Academy. So without further ado, let's dive in. So my guest today is a self-care strategist, published author, professional speaker and coach. She works with organisations who want to optimise their team's total wellness so that they can have a more productive and engaged workforce. She also coaches groups and individuals to achieve their health and wellness goals. My guest is also the author of the Amazon bestseller, Martinis and Menopause, Strategies, Science and Sips that Empower Women to Beat the Hormone Groan. So Kelli Jaecks, welcome to the podcast today.
Thank you, Sally. I'm very delighted to be here this morning. It's morning for me.
Yeah, it's morning for you. It's 4 p.m. for me. So it's a bit of time difference.
Right.
So let's start, because we don't know each other. You know of me because you've taken my menopause course, and I did a little look and I was fascinated by your story because I went onto YouTube and you documented your breast cancer journey. So you got diagnosed with breast cancer, which must have been, I thought that was in 2019, wasn't it? And you late 2019, and then you documented your journey through your surgery because you had a double mastectomy as well, didn't you?
Yes.
So can you, because it's rare that we have people on this podcast who have had breast cancer. I know it's quite rife, but it's rare to actually talk to someone that's been through it, that's survived, and that really has an opinion on HRT and how you can come back from it. So let's talk about your story, your breast cancer story to begin with, because it's fascinating.
Yes, I'd be happy to, Sally. Thank you for that introduction. First of all, just want your listeners to know what I do for a living. I am a conference speaker, so I have been over 15 years my own business, and I, am contracted. I travel particularly around the United States, but I have spoken many times internationally. So my life was very, very busy, right? 2 or 3 times a month, I would be flying to another city. I would be speaking at conferences, and I do a lot of speaking on women's health, which is one of my best and most fun things to talk about to women about their own health, and including about perimenopause and menopause. So this was 2019, just November of 2019. And, I scheduled my annual mammogram. I have had an annual mammogram since I was 40 years old. And at that time, I was 58. And so I went in to have my mammogram, and in between traveling, like literally, okay, I'm home for 3 days. I got to get my test. Now I'm off to the next thing. And I was actually at a conference when I learned, my doctor called me, I stepped out, and I had breast cancer. After the mammogram, there were 3 suspicious lesions in my left breast. So I had an ultrasound biopsy. A long needle goes into your breast and pulls out cells from the area that they see on the ultrasound. And all 3 of those were diagnosed as cancer. And so for me, it was very surprising because I've had a mammogram for over a decade, every year. And, I have dense breast tissue. I had dense breast tissue. So, about every 3 years, they would do an ultrasound and nothing, So within 1 year, here I have 3 tumors. And my life was quite stressful of traveling so much and doing all my own marketing and all my own business, all the things you must do when you're running your own business. And my husband had been having some health issues at the time that we were dealing with together. And, life was stressful. So I was surprised with the diagnosis also because much like you teach in your course, Sally, that the same principles I live by. I eat very healthy. We eat organic. We cook almost every meal in our own home. We never, I can say, buy fast food. It's just, and I work out 5 to 6 days a week, hard sweating. So I was like, what? I can't get breast cancer, but I did. And so because my breast cancer was estrogen and progesterone dominant, which about 80% of women who get breast cancer, that is. But most women, 85% of women, get something called ductal breast cancer, and that's where you do feel a lump, right? There's a lump somewhere. You may find it on your self-exam, your partner may find it, your doctor may find it.
Okay.
But mine was not ductal. Mine was lobular within the lobes of the breast tissue, and that is called the sneaky cancer because it does just what I explained. It comes on very quickly and it has a very high rate of going to the other breast. This was all in my left, so I had a very high rate that it would go to the right.
Did you feel a lump when you were checking? Did you
There
notice?
were no lumps
Okay.
because lobular looks like spider webs. It looks like little loci of spider webs around and in your breast. And my husband, I should mention, is a retired general surgeon, and he spent decades of his own practice doing surgery for women with breast cancer. So, he would know too. I don't want to get too personal, but he knew my breasts did not have lumps in them, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I would do self-exams too, and I never felt a lump.
Mm-hmm.
So we did a exploratory surgery, and yes, indeed, not only did I have 3 tumors, I had 4 tumors behind in my left breast, and one of them was, remember, I was like a spider web. So one of the tentacles of the spider web was against the back side of my areola nipple area. So once we got that conclusive diagnostic test, I knew then I had to have a double mastectomy. I was not going to go through all of this for one breast with this high risk of it reoccurring in the other breast.
Yeah.
And that was quite a mental journey.
Yeah. How did you cope? What was the feeling when you got the diagnosis?
Well, I couldn't believe it. I went into that fight or flight mode. I'm sweating. I'm in disbelief. In fact, they first told me as soon as the diagnosis came, they said, we recommend double mastectomy. And I said, no, I want you to do a lumpectomy first.
Yeah.
I want you to just take out what we see. Because I could not wrap my head around losing my breasts. So that's when the lumpectomy we did, and we found out there was 4 tumors, not just 3. So then I knew. So then that for me, I needed that definitive diagnosis of there's 4 tumors. I don't know. For me, I needed it.
Yeah.
And I come from a medical family, so we know all the things. And it didn't make it any easier. But I want to talk about the HRT, Sally, because
that's fascinating. Because I originally thought you were anti-HRT, but you said no, and you started telling me before we came on air. You started telling me about your story around your opinion, your viewpoint, and what happened because you were on HRT. Yeah.
Right. I felt like HRT saved my life when I was in perimenopause, going through menopause the first time. And so I had been on it. I had been on a very low dose of estrogen, progesterone, and a baby tiny bit of testosterone. And over here in the United States, I would go to my nurse practitioner, who was a specialist in this area. Every year, she would test me. And I know there is some controversy about, blood testing, but I would go every year, and she would recalibrate my prescription. So I was not on a high dose at this time in my life in 2019, but I had been on it for over 10 years.
Was it
just
the bioidentical?
bioidentical? Mm-hmm.
Did you get
Yep.
it from a private pharmacy that made it specially for you, or was it from your family practitioner or your
You are
gynecologist?
exactly right. I went through a private pharmacy, compounding pharmacy, we call it here.
Yeah.
And they would compound and send it to me. My progesterone I took at night because, as you know, it kind of helps you go into sleep or somnolence, feel more relaxed. So that I did get from just my GP. I
Okay.
could get the progesterone. So yes, even though, as you're we're alluding to, hormone replacement therapy is one of many things within a list of possible breast cancer risks.
Right.
So, but to fast forward to today, and I'll go back, is people such as you do ask me, how do you feel about HRT, Kelli, since you got breast cancer? And I would tell your listeners, and I tell people, we cannot definitively say that this very small amount of HRT I was taking caused my breast cancer. You cannot say that.
No.
And in fact, other risk factors are much higher on the scale of what could be a risk for breast cancer, including, of course, family history, substance abuse, being overweight, because our adipose cells, our fat cells, are estrogen factories, making too much.
Yeah.
Um,
Stress,
yeah, stress.
alcohol.
Stress is about the biggest one because you're everything from your adrenals, your cortisol, your thyroid, everything is freaking out, right? With unstoppable stress. So I am not uh, saying I don't believe in HRT. I do, and I believe it helps so many women.
Mm,
But you just have to be aware.
of course.
It's a risk factor, just
Yeah.
like other things are risk factors. And so you can choose to mitigate that particular risk, or you can choose to mitigate other risks like stress reduction.
Mm. And that's
Huge.
what you advocate now, isn't it? You're a big
Yes.
believer in self-care and really,
Yeah.
doing what we can. So you're a busy entrepreneur, you run your own business. How
Yeah.
do you manage that now? Because I would imagine that, it's a massive wake-up call having that, that
It,
diagnosis and then recognizing and
yes.
realizing I need to mitigate some of these risk factors, one of them being stress. But here I am, I've got this really good career.
Yeah.
How am I
And
going?
and a career I loved.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that happened in 2020. Okay. Diagnosis late 2019. So the first quarter of 2020, January through March, I had to give away like, I think 6 or 7 gigs I already had booked to travel and go. And so I got a hold of event planners and actually gave them names and information of people who I thought could step in for their event. And then March 2020 happened. And so that travel shut down. So in a way, that was a blessing for me in a way, because I didn't feel like I was missing going out there because no one was out there.
Right. I hear you. Yeah. It's like, oh, no
Yeah.
FOMO.
Yeah. So then early 2020, I reframed like this office to go video. I bought the nice camera, I bought the nice sound equipment, the lights, because some of the gigs I had later in the year of 2020 already booked, many of them went virtual.
Mm,
Right. So I was able to go on any different platform and deliver.
yeah.
But how did I change my life? This is very interesting right now, the fall of 2022, because part of my mental strength to get through the cancer, this life changing, literally, was, my attitude is what was, I don't have time for you, cancer.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to F with me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm beating you. So get out of here. I don't have time for you. Right. So that was my mental kind of being a victor over my own life rather than a victim. Was nope, I'm taking charge of this. Let's go. So I didn't slow down. I mean, I didn't travel in 2020, but I didn't slow down as far as my marketing and creating a course and, go, 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 up until the world started opening up. And one change that happened when the world started opening up and I started traveling again for work is I brought my husband with me just to have the support, and just to help me, be there, slog my bag to the convention center and go up and down the escalators and figure out where my room was and get the, tech set up. And so that was a comfort to me because before I traveled alone all of many, many, many times, most times. And now since then, I've only traveled alone, I think once or twice. And that was just for a 2-night, right? Gig down, present, do my work, fly home. So that was one major change was I wanted him with me. It was a calming presence. It's talking about stress, right? Yeah. Yeah, to have your cheerleader with you, that was really very helpful. And then the other thing is, like I do, and I still today limit the time I'll be on a stage. Much of my speaking career has been to the dental or oral health professions because my first degree is dental hygiene. So I do a lot of educational presentations in that aura, in that area. And traditionally in that field, which I think is tradition for many other medical fields as well, you go for a continuing education day, you, the practitioner, and it's usually a 6-hour day, like 3 hours in the morning of lecture, lunch, and 3 hours in the afternoon. And I was doing those 6-hour days monthly.
Yeah.
And I stopped. I started, event planners would reach out to me and they'd say, we want you for the whole day. And I'd say, well, I want to let you know kindly, I will do no more than 4 hours a day. I will do a 2 and a 2. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Or even a 3 and a 1 in the afternoon, but I cannot. My body, it's just too hard.
Yeah.
It takes too much. So I made a change in how I would speak and how I would present. Yeah. And, even some big meetings, do you have a virtual component? No. Okay, well then I'm sorry, I won't be able to help you. But if you have a virtual component, because sometimes I don't want to travel across the country in the middle of winter, for example.
I think we've gotten so used to having the ease of the virtual life and the virtual world. And, I think it's important to recognize, especially for women going through menopause, but also post-surgery, that having that ease is extremely important to our mental and emotional well-being.
You are exactly right.
It might be nice to connect with people in person, but
yes,
actually, I think that, we've all gotten used to online webinars and online training so much so in the last couple of years. I think we're all kind of, we're resigned to it really, and we've got our tech sorted. So how are you now with your energy levels? Like, do you still feel the pinch of having gone through that, or do you feel better than ever?
Well, I feel pretty good, but here's the caveat. My surgery was huge. I just want to touch on it 1 second because
please do.
Many women don't know about this option for breast cancer. I opted to not have implants of any kind in my body. And so my husband and I researched, we found this incredible hospital here in the United States, and I had to travel to New Orleans, which is a 5 hour plane flight away. And they took 4 inches of fat and tissue from my abdomen and transplanted that under my breast skin. So first they took out all the breast tissue from underneath my skin, my breast. They took all the breast tissue out. Then they transplanted live my own fat underneath my tissue and hooked it up intravenously to my arteries and veins in my chest, behind my chest wall. So it was a living transplant of my own body tissue. So my breasts, they look great in clothes and they are made of fat, not breast tissue.
Yeah. Wow. So it's
Yeah,
from your own body. And
yeah,
so you're more likely to not reject it if it's an implant, because there's so many horror stories
exactly.
about these silicone implants that leak
Yes,
and they're really toxic.
yes,
Mm.
really. And I think today's woman, the younger we are, the more that there is this pushback of, no, I don't want anything foreign in my body, right? And I was just, yeah. So I love it's the breast center in New Orleans, Louisiana, United States, and they are fantastic. They have it was a 17-bed hospital all for women having breast cancer or surgeries, breast reconstruction because of cancer, etc. So I'm very happy about that. Now I have a huge scar hip to hip. Of course, I have scars on my breasts. I don't have, it's a funny story. We can tell you sometime, but I don't have a nipple on my left breast. Um,
Do you still have the same sensitivity in your nipple
no,
that you have? No, okay.
it
Mm.
was such big surgeries. In fact, it's 2 years now, and I'm finally getting some more sensation on the upper part of my breast. Like when I touch it, I can feel it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's taken a long time for all the nerves to grow back. And that's what they say. It takes, some time for the nerve endings and then all the little teeny capillaries and everything coming back in and growing back into the scar tissue areas.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I am cancer free, but because of the type of cancer I had, I have to take, they call it either, cancer prevention or anti-cancer, a little teeny yellow pill, tiny pill every morning, which basically shuts down any estrogen my body would normally make as a postmenopausal woman, because as you know, it goes way down as we reach menopause and go postmenopause, but your body still makes little bits
Yeah.
of estrogen. And in fact, every single tissue within our body has estrogen receptors,
Right.
from our hair to our brain to our eyeballs to our vaginas to our skin to our bones. And so I do have symptoms
Right.
that I never had before. I don't talk about them much because I'm a person who tries to look at life positively rather than moaning and groaning. But, I have a lot of joint ache and pain because I have no estrogen in my joints. I'm starting to get arthritis now in some of my joints because I have no estrogen on board. Um, uh, I I work hard. I do use a device vaginally to help the thinning vaginal walls.
Yeah.
Um, I take 20 supplements
That was my
to
next
counteract, try to
question.
counteract
That was my next question. I
from
was
this
going to
one
ask
little
you.
pill. Neuropathy. I have neuropathy in my hands and my feet. But I just and it cuts the metabolism.
Yeah.
So I do everything I can to keep metabolism up. I do. That's why I work out almost every day. I lift
Yeah.
light weights. I do yoga, body weight training, stretching. I play tennis. Like I have to be active or else I have zero metabolism.
Right. You've just got to keep it going yourself, haven't you?
Right.
What supplements do you take? I'm really interested in people's supplementation protocol. I'm quite nosy and because they really do help, but I think it's important to get what's right for you.
Right. They help a lot. Yes, I take boy, I don't know if I can. Well, let me see. I take something called mega betafoamine or something for liver support. I know you talk about liver support
Yeah.
in your course because we need it for metabolism and getting rid of waste, etc. I take every time I speak, I say these are the three things every single person, particularly women, should be on, and that is vitamin B complex for our brain health, high doses of vitamin D, and I'm talking 5 to 10,000 IU a day. I take 10,000 IU of D a day. It's very hard to overdose on D. and omega-3.
Yeah.
And I was on fish-based, but I have just switched to plant-based the last month of omega-3s.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, Sally, when I was listening to your course, I'm like, oh my gosh, you and I are so aligned. Like the things you talk about and work on with your clients are the exact things I have in my book. I mean, it's the exact things I also live and believe in. Um, yes, but back to supplements, I take something called NAC, 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 which helps with all the antioxidants and the free radicals.
Yeah.
It helps with inflammation.
Hmm.
I take turmeric, of course. I take turmeric twice a day to help with inflammation because I have a lot of it with this medication I take. What else? Oh my gosh. I take a probiotic, of course, every morning.
That's really good. I've just bought a new probiotic actually for myself.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can't remember. I can't,
Yeah.
literally, but every day I'm very consistent. I have my little, pill pack
Yeah.
that I used to think only old people had. And
No,
I fill a Monday through Sunday every week. I fill all the morning and all the afternoon. So, and that's what I tell people. It has to be convenient for you. Like
yeah.
when I travel, they're all in teeny baggies every day. Here's my AMs, here's my PMs. Um, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's got to be convenient for you. And routine is so important. So I think really
Yes.
you get into a routine, then you don't have to think about it. It just becomes a habit. Like you would never not take your little yellow pill from the doctor,
Right.
so you have to get into the mindset that your supplements are like that pill that's
Yes, exactly. And I try to teach my daughters who are grown and make it easy. Okay, put them by your toothpaste if that's what you need. Put them by the couch where you're going to watch your favorite show every night. So you have
right.
them there. It's like, how do we make habits easier for us? You know. Oh, one thing I do take ascorbic acid like in the powder form every morning because that also helps with the joint inflammation and your body takes in that. It's high dose vitamin C basically, but your body takes it in better. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
definitely. I love your positivity, and I just have to say, because you told me before we came on that it's your birthday today.
Yes.
So
October
massive
19th.
happy birthday. And
Thank
I just
you.
want everyone that's listening to this, just blow Kelly a kiss right now. Give her a big hug for her birthday, even though they might not be listening to it on your birthday. But because I had to change this session. I couldn't record it. I think it was Monday we had it booked in for, but I've basically I haven't had a period for about 2.5 months. And
Mm-hmm.
I came on Saturday, and it's just been the worst withdrawal bleed I've had ever, which is awful. So I had this like incredible amount of pain. I had tiredness. I had, my digestion was buggered, and I was bloating, and oh, it was just awful. So I had, brain fog. I was just asleep basically. And that's why you've kindly rescheduled this on your birthday, which is so lovely for us. Um,
Well, you're welcome. And but the thing is with your period you just had, that is women all over that can relate to you because that is what it's like sometimes.
I know you think you're going through your
And
final
it's
year.
not pleasant.
Mm. Yeah, you think that's it. You think you're going through your final year, and then all of a sudden you get a bleed. Um,
Oh, yes. I went 15 months my first time. I thought I was done 15 months. And then I was at a meeting with a bunch of sponsors. It was a champagne toasting kind of thing. It was very wonderful. And I felt that telltale gush. And I had a really cute white skirt on and an orange jacket. And I had to ask 4 women secretly, hey, do you have anything I can use? Do you have a tampon? Do you have a pad? I'll take anything because I don't carry anything because I haven't had a period in 15 months.
right.
But
Yeah.
that was it. My body, as everyone's body, finishes that reproductive zone differently,
Yeah.
although it is very universal, the experience.
Yes, for sure. I love your positivity. How do you stay so positive? I mean, did you through the through the breast cancer and sort of since then, have you always been a positive person? I mean, yeah, how's it all worked
I
out?
have always been a positive person, and I attribute that really to my mother, who is still with us. She's 80 years old this year, and she was always just a get up and go and work, 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 and do what you need to do. And I don't know, we just didn't have a lot of bitching and moaning at our house growing up. So I do attribute that to her. There is, I believe, some genetic predisposition for people who are could be more positive or looking at things more, but I am a realist. I mean, my husband will tell you he often thinks I'm negative because I'm just real,
Right.
in my opinion, right? Like, the world is not Disneyland and roses. I mean, there's a lot of stressors in the world. I try to, but part of my practice of staying positive is I actually train myself to be positive. So you talk about your night routine and your morning routine, and I have a night routine. I call it it's called sleep hygiene. It's what I teach, and also a morning wake up practice. So when I wake up, I'm in the bed. It's dark usually, and I'm going to get out of bed. And I've trained myself when I put my feet on the floor and ground myself for the first time that day. I say, thank you.
Mm.
I don't even know. It doesn't matter who you're saying thank you to. It doesn't matter what your belief system is of higher power or God or the Lord or the universe. It doesn't matter. It's practicing gratitude, which brings you into positivity, right? So even if I don't even know how I don't know how I feel yet. I just woke up, but I have trained myself. I put my feet on the floor, and in my mind, I'm thinking, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, as I walk to the bathroom or whatever, whatever. And we can train our brains. I mean, the neuroscience is amazing. I have a new presentation I do on resilience, and part of it is we can retrain our brains.
Yeah.
And so that's part of what I do. I tend to look at life as I'm in control. I'm not in control, but I create my reality rather than the world dictating to me what
Mhm.
my reality is.
Yeah, that sense of being empowered and having
Yes,
choices. Yeah.
because you always have a choice, even if you're in a job you don't love, even if you're sitting in traffic, even if your loved one is sick. Okay. Even if the baby is, we always have choices. And sometimes, yes, let's acknowledge some periods of our lives are much more stressful than others. And some periods of our lives is more about giving of ourselves because we have people who are very needy around us, whether they're babies or sick parents or, you know, but in general, we do have a choice of how will we feel? How will I react and
Mm.
respond to this stressor
Yeah.
coming in my life? And so for me, it is being grounded, knowing where I'm at in my body. And I try to teach that. I know you try to teach that too. And it's until a person starts thinking about that, it's a little difficult to teach in a way. It's like, well, can you stand on your 2 feet with your weight balanced? That's just like one simple exercise. Okay, where am I standing today? What does it feel like? What do my feet feel like? What do my shoes feel like?
Mm.
What do the clothes feel like as they're hanging on my skin?
Mm.
Am I breathing? Right. To me, those are all the kinds of things. And when I'm having a particular stressor, as we do,
Yeah.
and I find myself going down a negative path. Let's say my husband and I have an altercation about something, right? Domestic, whatever.
Yeah.
It's easy to go, oh, he's always like this. Why does he always do this? Why can't he listen to me? Whatever your script is, we all have it. It's a negative script.
Yeah.
Well, I try to catch myself on the negative script and turn it
Yeah.
and say, whatever it is, like, what do you want? I want a happy and vibrant marriage. I want to be having fun with my husband. He's a good guy. He didn't do that to hurt me, or he didn't, or who cares if, he puts the sauce away in the refrigerator different than I do. Who cares? Like, you have to catch yourself in the negatives and with other people, but as you know, Sally, most importantly with yourself.
Yeah, it's
Like,
so true. I do catch myself sometimes, in those situations when I've been really triggered and I'm having an emotional reaction. And what I tend to do in those situations is observe that emotional reaction. So, rather than like bypassing that and just sort of trying to snap out of it as quickly as possible, I'll allow some space for curiosity as to, okay, what, first of all, am I telling the truth about this situation? Yes, this is real for me right now, and I am pissed off that XYZ has happened. And I allow myself to feel those feelings and really like almost like have a body experience with those feelings, because you have to, it's part of having a relationship with yourself, isn't it? Like knowing who you are. It's so important to
exactly.
understand the feelings, because in the work that I do, part of the problem is that people have cut themselves off from the way that they feel, and they're not acknowledging the pain that they've actually
Right.
been in. So
Yes.
it is really important to, before, because that is part of the being positive and getting better and healing and recovering, is like snapping your fingers. For me, it's like a finger snap, and then, right, what do I know? Do I want to stay in this funk for much longer, or do I actually want to do something about it? I had it yesterday, in fact. I was in a right royal bad mood in the morning, and I was so feeling so victimized and so like,
Yeah.
yeah, just pissed off and annoyed with the world, and really, really poor me. And in the end, I watched a video on how to make your Instagram better. And I thought, okay, this is really good now, because I've got some tools that I can use to actually get the ball rolling again and, feel prouder of my Instagram account. It wasn't directly related to the main problem, but it was a
Right.
problem that needed solving. So
Yes.
what you've said, I love that. We do have choice, we do have the power, and we can just watch something. We live in the information age. It's so amazing. We have all of this stuff at our fingertips that we can
Yes.
utilize to really help ourselves get out of this space when we're feeling disempowered, when we're feeling like the world's against us, or victimized, or even scared. Like you must have been
Yes.
scared when you had that breast
Yes.
cancer diagnosis and
Yes.
subsequently since then. So, yeah.
Yeah. And then I sought knowledge. Okay.
Yeah.
Who else has been through this, And in fact, I found this woman on YouTube, and her journey was different. She, went a different route with implants, etc. But she shared her story through video. And I said, oh, I'm going to do that, because if I can help one woman, I'm going to do that. Plus, I'm a communicator. you know, I like to talk, I like people, and I like to connect. And so I thought, well, I'm going to connect with the people who love me, so I don't have to explain it, 50 times a day. Here's the video series. Here's what I'm going through right now in my house or in
Yeah.
the hospital or whatever. Um, but one thing you said, oh yes, the being aware of ourselves and being okay with, yes, I'm angry and my anger is okay,
Yeah.
right? Or I disagree with that person, and it's okay that we disagree,
Yeah.
right? Um, I just started taking a a tennis clinic where there's 12 people and two coaches. And I love tennis. You're running around, you're hitting balls, you're sweating, you're getting good exercise. And but I got so angry the other night at the coaches, or at the situation.
Hmm.
And I I thought to myself, why am I angry? What is the trigger? Like, why am I feeling like I have to just push back and yell back or whatever? And I realized, oh, because we're in this huge cavernous building, right? Huge, 3 courts, big, not very good sound. acoustics. And so the coaches, who were both happen to be male, are yelling the instructions. Okay, this is the next drill we're going to do. Blah, blah, blah. Do this, cross court, do this. And they're having to yell because the acoustics are so bad. They're not yelling at us. They're yelling so we can hear. And I realized, oh, I'm triggered because this is a tall man in authority yelling at me.
Right.
And okay, I have that in my past, obviously, and
Yeah.
I worked through that. And but to realize, oh, that's why I'm triggered. A man in authority is yelling at me.
Mm-hmm.
And, I've spent my life pushing back against that.
Yeah.
And I realized it. And so I was able to, and I told my friend who was on the court, a woman, oh, you know why I'm yelling and being so angry? This is why. And at the end of the clinic, I went up privately to the coach and I said, I want to let you know my anger is not directed at you personally.
Yeah.
But I just recognize for my own self, this is what happened to me. And I knew he's a sports psychologist, so he knew the language of triggering and, but for women, particularly, I mean, I like what you do with women with menopause because it is a highly stressful time.
Yeah.
A decade or so, more or less, in a woman's life. And to understand ourselves, where we come from, why something might bring up negative emotions, like you're saying, trying to be positive. Well, once I recognized, oh, that's what's happening, then I can breathe, calm down, and realize, okay, this is nothing.
Yeah.
This is nothing.
Of course. What you've said there has reminded me that knowledge is power.
Mm-hmm.
Because you've done that therapeutic work on yourself and you recognized, right, first of all, there's a trigger. I'm triggered. How can I deeper understand what's going on here? And you pull on that knowledge that you had created and become aware of, either with your therapist or
Mm-hmm.
yourself, and then you feel more empowered because
Yes.
you now know, and you now know that there's nothing wrong with you. It's just a residual memory that's come up,
Yeah.
and you can go,
Yeah.
oh, okay, right, breathe. And the anger
I know how
can,
to handle it now. This
yeah,
is, yeah, for sure. And that is self-work. You are right. Like whether we are talking to women going through menopause or people in general,
mhm,
whether I'm talking about self-care or resilience or women's health, that's the foundation,
yeah,
is knowing yourself and actually honoring yourself.
yeah,
I mean, I like to tell women, listen, let's stop shaming our bodies. Let's stop trying to fit into a mold, because your body is your oldest friend. And she has been with you through
mhm,
every trauma, through every emotion, through everything you have been through. Your body has been there carrying you. And, it brings me to tears to talk about it. And my audiences, it just brings this, when we think of our bodies like that, and our bodies are going through this transition in menopause, your body needs your brain and your soul to help support it, and your body is trying to get to the other side where it's wonderful actually.
mm,
But we so often think our body is our enemy, but really our body carries us, our physical stuff, the DNA that we're given at birth that we have no choice over.
yeah,
And I just love that, because our culture and all we're growing up is, you have to look a certain way, you have to be a certain way, you have to, and I realize I come from a place in the culture of a privileged white woman.
mhm,
I am blonde, I am blue-eyed, I grew up in the era of Farrah Fawcett. I have Scandinavian skin and bone structure. And I mean, I'm not a model size 0, but I know that I have been given privilege
mhm,
in my life. And part of the privilege is how my body looks. I'm not saying we don't have horrific things going on in our culture, and we do.
Yeah.
Everything from body shaming, fat shaming, health shaming, obesity shaming.
Yeah.
So I know I always want to acknowledge I do come from a white privilege. I grew up in a middle class home and we had everything we needed,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but all of us, no matter how and who we are, our bodies are our friends and they want to be our friend helping us.
Yeah, I'm a big believer that if you treat your body right, your body will treat you right.
Oh, there you go. Yes, because it is symbiotic, even though, what do you mean? Well, your brain is part of your body, but your brain and your soul and how you think is,
Mm.
right?
Well, it's not
Also,
another country, is it? It's linked, you
right? Yeah,
know.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yes.
do. We need to treat our bodies better, and I'm a big believer in talking to your body in a way that your body is actually going to be grateful for. So many people punish their bodies.
Yes.
They look at it, I'm no exception. Occasionally catch myself in the mirror and just think, oh, I wish I looked differently, or I don't like the
Yes.
fit there.
I mean, I know, I do too.
We all
Post
do.
menopause. Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
all do. But it's a journey that we have to work on and we have to get better at it. And some days we're
Yeah.
better at it than others.
Yes. And giving ourselves a grace when we're having a bad day.
Yeah.
We have to give ourselves grace too when we're like you did the morning users. You have to give yourself grace. You can't work. You couldn't get up and do the podcast. I
Mm-mm.
understand that, right? We have to say, okay, I got to take a break here.
Yeah.
And
And
I'm
it's so
not,
nice. I love the menopause community because we're so understanding when
yeah,
it comes to events and things having to be rescheduled.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So, what are
And
your feelings about the menopause conversation? It here in the well, actually, no, it was World Menopause Day yesterday, and there was a
yes, it
lot
was.
of topic. My Instagram account was blowing up with conversations around menopause, and is it the same in the USA? Is it getting better, do you think? What do we need to do to fix our sort of the gap of knowledge that we have?
Yes. That's such a good question because you and I were speaking just a little bit before we came on air this morning that the UK, you are leagues ahead of us in trying to even understand the menopausal woman, particularly the menopausal woman in the workplace.
Mhm.
And let me tell you, there is zero discussion of that in the United States yet. And of course, what's happening over here, yes, there is more talk about menopause because just individuals such as yourself, myself, are trying to talk about it. But it's systems. It's how do systems work within a country and in a culture? How do the systems honor or dishonor women? And unfortunately, I feel like the United States, we are going through a period of dishonoring
Oh, yeah.
women's autonomy and power. So then it has to come down again to the individual. How do we shift the needle? And I try to encourage and empower women to be open and honest about their menopause,
Yeah.
to say, I'm taking a personal day from work today, not because I have the flu, but because I have menopausal symptoms that require me to not be at work today.
Yeah.
Like simply saying that, simply naming it, I believe then empowers the person and actually starting to educate them.
Yeah.
Like that's why I love it when not just women's groups, but corporations bring me in
Yeah.
to talk about women's hormonal health. And I talk all the way from reproductive zone through perimenopause, menopause, and beyond, because we don't talk about it enough. And I think, like you said, knowledge is power. So that's really, I think, the way change has to come, particularly in this country, because our systems, to me, are so far from honoring the woman. and her body and what she's going through. So,
It has to be done at that grassroots level, doesn't it? Like
yeah,
base level, like women actually saying, I need to take a menopause care day, a self-care day.
yes,
That planting a seed in the person above you at work or in the culture of the workplace.
right.
That
Or
actually,
yeah, my fan has to be here
yeah.
at my desk or in medical dental in my operatory. I have to have fans for myself.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, just having the conversation instead of being ashamed. And so many people, so many women, and as I like how you are so open in your speaking about transgender individuals, so many people um, feel alone
Yeah.
through this menopausal transition because we don't talk about it enough. I mean, when I do a course, I often ask, can I see a raise of hands of anyone who knows your mother's menopausal story?
Mm.
And I mean, if I get 10%, that's big. Or how many know your grandmother's menopause story? And nobody knows that because they did not talk about it.
Yeah.
So, we're in the midst of a very long-term change, hopefully.
Yeah, yeah, and hopefully gets there quick. So my final question to you is, you're post-menopause now. What's good about it? What can we look forward to?
Oh, oh, no periods. I mean, ever. I mean, nothing, no exudate, no nothing coming out onto your panties from your vagina. It's so great. Unless you have incontinence, then other women have to, that's a different issue. But you have no periods. So therefore you have no all those ups and downs of the pain, the cramps, the feeling awful, the not wanting to get out of bed. That's gone.
Hmm.
I mean, that is gone. And also, if you are a person who still enjoys having a sexual life post menopause, which we know it's very, very good for us, not
Yeah.
just physically, mentally, emotionally, um, you never have to worry because, as you know, a woman going through menopause, even if you're 48 or 52 and you're still ovulating and still having a period once in a while, you are still viable to get pregnant.
Mm.
So there's no pregnancy. Like you could have, I don't have to think about what time of month it is.
Yeah.
I don't have to think about anything if I'm going to have sexual intercourse
Hmm.
with a man,
Hmm.
which I do that with my husband. um, so that is freeing. Also, I'm just really realizing this coming through the cancer at the same time I'm postmenopause is you love your life
Yeah.
more, I believe. Let me put it a different way. You end up not giving so much credence to other people and what they think about you.
Yeah.
I really could give a whatever you rat's ass about it. It's like I'm me. This is who I am. I know who I am. I'm in my sixth decade. I know my strengths. I know my weaknesses. I know what I'm good at and what I'm not very good at. Um, and I can look the way I want to look. I can act. I mean, I just feel free.
Yeah.
There's so much freedom because also usually at this time of life, your children have left the home if you had children or are about to leave when you're postmenopause. You know, you may have stressors with parents and other family members. I do, but the freedom and just I honestly don't, and it doesn't sound right. I don't care what you think. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, lots of people say that. I mean, people that I speak to, a lot of people that I follow are quite explicit in saying, I have no more fucks to give. I'm
yeah, that's what
done
I
with
mean. I
my
don't give a
fucks.
shit. I don't give a shit if you don't like me. I don't give a shit if you don't like what I'm wearing or what I'm doing. I like me.
Yeah.
I like me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
And
like who I am.
I think that is extremely liberating because, all through my 20s and 30s and early 40s, I cared so much, and I was
Yeah.
so contorted inside. And, people pleasing is a trauma response. We
It
don't
is.
realize that, but it
Yes.
actually is a
Yes.
trauma response. It comes from stuff that's happened in your past where you had to be agreeable all of the time. So
Yes.
once we get through that, and menopause is an opportunity for us to clear all of our emotional stuff. So
Yes. That's a good way to put it. It's
yeah,
yeah.
it really is.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for talking to us, Kelli. How can people work with you? How can people find out more about you? Where can they get your book? And yeah, what is it that how do you?
Right. Well, my book, you can go onto Amazon
Yeah.
globally. It's called Martinis and Menopause. And I have a book and a workbook. You can see it right here behind me. The workbook is basically a 3-month journey where you journal your symptoms, and I have all kinds of activities and homework. I'm a big fan of not homework like what can I do, right? Because a lot of women, even you don't want to go on HRT, you don't have to. There are other things to help you. That we can do in our everyday life. Things like you and I have been talking about this morning, this today, Sally. Like, what is your routine in the morning? What is your routine at night? What are you putting into your brain? What are you allowing yourself to feel?
Yeah.
Negative or positive? Like, what are you eating? What is your movement like during the day? There's a lot of things you can. Anyway, my book is full of that. So the book is like 10 chapters of each of a different symptom, and then a story of a woman going through those symptoms, and then the science of why you're
Hmm.
not losing your mind. It's a real thing. I have the science of why in there, and then most importantly, what are your action steps?
Yeah.
What can you do if you're having severe hot flashes? What can you do if you're having sexual health issues? What can you do if you are having brain fog? That kind of thing. So they can find it on Amazon. Also, please connect with me personally. I think you'll have it in the show notes, maybe how to get a hold of me, Facebook, Instagram, and you can send me an email all the time, Kelli@kellijaecks.com or hello@kellijaecks.com, because I like to support people, and I'm just starting to think about this next chapter in my life and how can I better support women. So I do coaching,
Hmm.
and I'm talking about individual coaching, but I'm considering starting a group coaching
That'd be lovely. You'd be amazing
session
at
as well. Oh, thank you. So, but at the moment it's my birthday, so I'm just taking a break.
that. Awesome. What are you doing today for your birthday? Got any plans?
Well, I am going to go do my workout at the gym because I love my group class. I go to a group class and I love my people that I work out with. And I'm also teaching a whole group of people. Have you heard of Thrill the World?
No?
It's always the Saturday before Halloween around the globe, and people learn the thriller dance, the 6-minute thriller dance.
Yeah, yeah.
And I've been doing it for 10 years. And I'm now this year I'm teaching a cohort of
Wow.
women to do the dance. We'll be dancing the 29th of October. And that's joy for me. Like, that is joy for me.
Yeah.
And I'm going to play a game of tennis. And then my husband has told me to dress up and be ready for a date at 6:15. So I do not know what I'm doing this evening.
Oh, what a gorgeous date with lots of
Yeah.
movement, but a nice treat at the end.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yes.
Well, have a wonderful birthday and thank you so much for sharing your heartfelt story and all of your pearls of wisdom. I've really, really enjoyed talking to you today, Kelli. Wow, I just thought Kelli's story and her whole energy was just so inspiring. And to go through what she went through was just so brave, to hold it all together and to have that positive victor type attitude as she went through it. My biggest takeaway from this conversation was really all about breast checkups. It reminded me to schedule in a screening, and that I can't rely on just checking my boobs by hand, because I too have very dense breast tissue and they are naturally quite lumpy as well. So Kelly's story is a big wake-up call for all of us. It doesn't matter how healthy you are, you still have to get your boobs checked. None of us are immune. And there's so much estrogen in our water supply and the xenoestrogens in the environment too. All of this can contribute to the risk of estrogen dominant cancers going up. So it is much better to be safe than sorry. The moral of the story is get checked, and get checked regularly. Okay, so I have a very exciting announcement to make. Drum roll, please. The Sleep Superpower Academy is now an evergreen group program, which means you can join anytime. Now, the reason I decided to go from this cohort-based model to an evergreen-based group program model was because of the feedback I was getting. You were telling me that you didn't want to have to wait until September or March to join the program. You wanted it now. And you know what? I get it, because when we are in the throes of insomnia, you just need a solution right now. You can't wait until March or September. You need it now. I get that. It's fully landed. So I've been busy behind the scenes making this course an evergreen program for you. It's the same brilliant course with the same live support sessions that you get, the Zoom calls, the brilliant Facebook community, but the only difference is it's now open anytime. So if you are struggling with your sleep and hormone replacement therapy is not doing the job quite as well as you thought it might, then you need to join the Sleep Superpower Academy, because we have got some incredible solutions inside. So for more information, just go to sallygarozzo.com/sleep. And I'll put the link in the show notes. Remember, if you're liking these podcasts and you really believe in getting the word out there about menopause, midlife and mental health, then please subscribe and leave a review. It just means that we get to reach out to more people who need to hear this message. And happy people means a happy world. Your interaction might very well help to save another person's sanity. Please share this, and I'll see you next week. Bye for now.